This is a review for the Lotos Mig 140 MIG welder. Coming in at $372 through Amazon Prime if you're a member, you get a nice welder that can keep up with a Millermatic 211. All said and done with the cart, the tank, and the 10-pound spool of 030 MIG wire from Harbor Freight, you're looking at a total cost of about $800 to $900 versus the $1,300 plus price tag on the Millermatic 211. That's without the tank and the cart. I'm using this welder in the production of grain handling equipment. We use it to weld the components together on this bucket elevator, as well as other pieces we rebuild and sell. And I've got to say, it handles the workload pretty well. I haven't had any issues with it, and I've had it since January of 2017, so that makes it about 6 months. One of the components I like a lot about it, and was a selling point for me, is the cast aluminum wire feeding mechanism. I haven't had any wire breakage, and any balls of knotted wire. I guess you could call that spaghetti. Now, I own a Millermatic 211 as well, and that is something I have a problem with. The wire feeding mechanism has a tendency to break the wire, and then I have to refeed it, and it just takes a lot of time. Another component I like is the Welding Gun. Yes, it's generic, but it's of decent enough quality to withstand a few drops and works just as good as the welding guns on the Miller 250s, and works better than the welding gun on the Millermatic 211. It's another component that just works, and it works well. It also has this nice swiveling ball on the end of the gun, which is a nice feature, and that's something the Millermatic's gun does not have. One thing that is very frustrating about the Millermatic 211, and is ridiculous coming from a brand like Miller, you would think that they would have everything covered and everything would work well given the fact that you're paying $1,300, but it doesn't. The 211's gun nozzle has a tendency to move back onto the gun, changing the gas envelope and causing the welder to weld as if it has no argon gas. Here's where it should be at all times. Here's where it can move back to if you drop it or are just not paying attention. Another feature I like are the digital voltage and wire speed displays. I don't use them that much. We used a color-coded system, so it wouldn't take so long to dial in what voltage and wire speed you need. Bear in mind that these are just starting values. It takes some fine-tuning to get good penetration and get the welder working as it should. The 4T setting is something I don't use as well. It just makes it so you don't have to hold down the trigger. It's a nice feature, but I don't use it. I prefer to hold down the trigger and let off of it when I want to stop welding. You could say old habits die hard. A few things I think could be a little bit better on it. One is the spool stud. It feels a little flimsy, but it takes a 10-pound spool just fine, and I don't feel like I'm going to break it off when I put one on. One other thing is that you can't expect a lot when you are pulling out of a wall outlet with 110 volts, but it doesn't get hot fast enough. Now, I'm sure that's just because I'm spoiled with the Miller 250 we use, or the Miller 211 now that we have it switched over to the 220 volt side and I've gotten used to all of its quirks. When the 211 was on the 110 side, I would say the heat and melting times were about the same. On Amazon, this welder is rated for 1/4 inch in steel thickness. It will do that, but you'll have to go slow and let it heat up more to get decent penetration. Looking back, I may have been better satisfied with the Lotos 175, but it hasn't been modernized and it doesn't look as well built as the 140. I would say that this welder is better suited for work with 3/16 thick steel. Here you can see me weld together 2 1/4 inch plates, and the welds were pretty strong and held together just fine. I couldn't get them to flex at all. If they upgrade the 175 in the future, I may get it just for a little more power. But don't let me scare you, this welder is perfect for work with 3/16 steel and thinner, and has performed well under moderate to heavy production use. Of course, I'm not laying 12-inch beads, so it's perfect for me. Obviously, this isn't something you would use to weld battleships together, but it's perfect for general to mild production use. All in all, this welder has made me a lot of money, and I don't foresee it stopping. Even if it does, I can buy another one and still be cheaper than a Millermatic 211. So, if you want a good welder with a lot of bang for your buck, get this and put the money that you would have in a Millermatic 211 into something else for your shop. For under $1,000, you can have the same setup as I have, and it will work just fine. Before I end, I just want to say that I have not been paid at all to make this video, and am making this based on my time using this welder. Until next time, thanks for watching and subscribe.